Just when you think it couldn't get any better, it's going to get better. Because here's what we're doing today. We're doing the second half of solving these multi-step equations, and today we're adding fractions. And you're thinking, are you kidding, crazy lady? Because what could be more hideous than that? And I'm telling you, fractions are our friends. They're so much easier to deal with than decimals. I swear to you, they really, really are. If you had just grown up in the Stone Age with me, you'd get that. Okay? I just want to rip that calculator out of your hand. So here we go. We're going to solve these equations, multi-steppers. Okay? Fractions. So what's your learning target today? Well, guess what, smarty pants? You're going to solve equations with fractions. I can solve, equations with fractions. You need to stop fearing them. They really are not that bad, okay? Until we change to the metric system, we're stuck with fractions in a big, big way here in the good old USA. So get over it. And here we go. Ready? Basically, it's going to be 3 examples, and they're kind of nasty looking, so no crying or anything like that. But let's just dive in and let me show you how we're going to tackle this, because in all honesty, when I look at this 5m over 8, and I could also write this as like 5/8 m. Okay, it's kind of gross. And then you have minus 6/8 and plus 3m over 8 equals 2/8. And right now you're like, oh my goodness, seriously, lady? This is not easy. Ugh. Yes, it is. I'm going to show you why. All of these terms, okay? Here's a term, here's a term, here's a term, and here's a term. All of these terms have the same denominator. And when that happens, I'm going to show you a strategy, since you are masters of the distributive property, called clear the denominator. Watch what happens. It is perfectly legal for me to multiply each side of the equation as long as I multiply each side by the same thing. I'm going to strategically choose to multiply by whatever's in my denominator, namely 8. So I'm going to multiply this side by 8, and I'm going to multiply this side by 8. Now, what you have to do, since I have I have 3 terms here on this left side of the equation, I have to multiply 8 times this, and then I have to multiply 8 times this, I have to multiply 8 times this, okay? And since all of these are fractions, if it's more helpful for you to think of this as 8 over 1, and remember when we multiply, we just go vroom, across the top and across the bottom. So really, 8 over 1 times 5m over 8, now I'm going to kind of do this the long way, but I want you to see what's going to happen. Okay, when I multiply these guys, and when we talked about multiplying fractions, I said, yeah, we make the big Uberfraction. And then you can either multiply or you can simplify if you have the same thing in the numerator and the denominator. Meaning this 8 in the numerator is wiping out, clearing out the 8 in the denominator. Holy mackerel. This now just becomes 5m. What? Yes. When you distribute 8 to this minus 6/8, you're multiplying 8 over 1 times 6 over 8. It's one giant fraction, and the 8's cancel. They divide to be 1, and you just have 6. Do you see where this is going? Didn't I tell you this is going to be nice? Multiplying by 8 clears the denominator. So now I just have 5m minus 6 plus 3m. Ha ha! And on this side, this 8 in the numerator cancels that. You just have 2. Clear the denominator. What? This is the greatest thing ever. Now, this looks like this, and I can just say, hey, 5m plus 3m, that gives me 8m's. Combine those like terms together. You have a minus 6, and this equals 2. Okay, let's add 6. Add 6 to each side, because remember where your equation or your equal sign is. You have to do the same thing on each side to keep it balanced. Goes to 0. Dun, 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 dun. I am just rocking the house. Look at this. Divide by 8. Divide by 8. 1m equals 1. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Hot diggity dog. That was the greatest thing since sliced bread. I am telling you. All right, now, if you go back and check this and plug it in on your calculator, it really, really, really works. Because you plug in a 1, you're going to get 5/8 minus 6/8. So 5 minus 6, that's -1. Plus 3, that's 2. Duh. There you go. It checks. All right, example number 1. Here comes example number 2. Looks a little different. Don't freak out now. We've got to do a little bit beforehand. So you have x over 2. Okay, and if it helps you to think of this as a 1x over 2, plus 1 plus 3x over 4 equals -9. Okay, now not everything has a fraction. Okay, so before I want to play this clear the denominator game, here's what I'm going to recommend. Let's make everything have a fraction, and we want them to have the same denominator. So let's take a look here. This has a 2 in the denominator. This doesn't have a fraction. This one has a 4. Okay, since 2 can go in 4, the common denominator here is going to be 4. So we need to change this into fourths. We need to change the 1 into fourths. The 3x already is over 4, and then we're going to have to change the -9 into something over 4. Okay? All right, so let's go to this guy. If I have a 1x over 2 and I want to change this into fourths, I have to multiply numerator and denominator by 2. That gives me 4 on the bottom and a 2x on the top. Take a minute and let that sink in. The 1, okay, the 1 right now doesn't have a denominator. It's like saying 1 over 1. So to get it to have fourths in the denominator, you're going to turn that into 4/4. Makes sense because 4/4 is 1, okay? This guy was already there. The -9, think of that as -9 over 1, and we're changing it into fourths. This becomes -36. Okay, stop for a minute and let that sink in. Pause the video so you can look at it and go, Now we're going to use this magnificent distributive property to play clear the denominator. Woohoo! And the crowd goes wild. Since now all of my denominators are 4, here's what's going to happen. When I take 4 times this first term, clears out the denominator. All you have is 2x. Take 4 times this one. Now, this 4 is going to wipe out the denominator, and you're just left with the 4 in the numerator. Okay? If you were distributing, you'd think 4 times 4 is 16. Divided by 4 gives you 4. Okay? All right. 4 times the last thing times 3x over 4, it wipes out the denominator. You're left with 3x. No more fractions. Yay! On this side, this 4 goes ahead and divides out the 4 in the denominator. They give you, you're left with -36. Oh my stars. Way better than what we started with. Blah! Look at this now. Before you get carried away, I do have some like terms. I have a 2x and a plus 3x on the same side. That gives me 5x plus 4. That gives me -36. Okay, now go to town. Okay, I need to undo this adding of 4 by subtracting. Goes to 0. 5x plus 0 is 5x. This, careful with your signs, is -40. Woohoo, woohoo! divide by 5. I get a 1x, and that equals -8. Hot diggity dog. Boom, there you go. Nice. That is a lot of work for that one problem. But it worked. Go ahead, grab your calculator, plug in -8 over 2. That'll give me -4 plus 1. Plug in -8 here. That gives me -24 over 4. That's -6. -4 plus 1 minus 6 gives you -9. Check. All right, one last one. All righty. Look at your denominators. I have 7k over 8 minus 3/4 minus 5k over 16 equals 3/8. The first thing you need to do is rewrite this whole nasty thing with the same denominator. So you look at 8 and 4 and 16 and say, what's a common denominator? It's 16. Yay! So I want to turn this first term into 16ths. To get there, I'd have to multiply by 2. So do that in both the numerator and the denominator. 14k over 16, because that is equivalent to 7k over 8. Change 3/4 into 16ths. I'd have to multiply by 4, so I have to multiply the numerator by 4. This term, yay, I don't have to change anything. Sweet. And on this side of the equal sign, I also want this to have a denominator of 16. So I look at that and I say, I have to multiply 8 times 2 to get 16. Be fair, do the same thing up there, because 2 over 2 is really 1. 6 16ths, equivalent to 3/8. Hot diggity dog. Now we're going to use that beautiful distributive property to say, hey. If I multiply by 16, I have to be fair and do the same thing over here. 16 over 1. And what it does is whoosh, clears the denominator totally out of there. When I distribute it times this guy, wipes out the denominator, just get 14k. When I distribute it to this minus 12/16, wipes out the denominator, just minus 12. Do it on the last term. I get minus 5k. Wiped out the denominator. You're basically just left with an equivalent equation that just has all of the numerators now. Hallelujah. Alrighty, let's simplify. I have a 14k and a minus 5k on the same side of the equation. That means we should combine those two guys together. Then I have minus 12 equals 6. Oh, now this seems like a cakewalk now. Plus 12 on this side, plus 12 on this side. Goes to 0. 0 plus 9k is 9k. This is 18. Divide by 9. Divide by 9. I get k is 2. That is so nice. After all of that gobbledygook up there, go ahead and check your answer. Yep. Trust me, it works. It's absolutely beautiful. Honestly. Your assignment for tomorrow is a worksheet. All right? And hopefully as you go through the worksheet, you'll notice some things. You'll notice some things. Okay? Okay. All right. Go ahead and get started. As always, good luck, and may the force be with you.